Batman, Swamp Sinister, Gotham City, New Jersey, September 2005. It was a normal evening at the lavish penthouse of Bruce Wayne. He was sitting reading a magazine while Alfred was struggling to bring a giant crate inside the penthouse, and he says, "Oh, Master Bruce, can you give me a hand with this?" Bruce gets up from the couch and looks and's like, "My goodness, Alfred, what is that giant crate?" Alfred says, "Oh, I don't know, Master Bruce. A delivery man left it here. There's no return address. It's simply addressed to you." Bruce Wayne gets up, goes to help Alfred, and they lay the crate down on the floor. Then Alfred says, "Here you go, Master Bruce, a crowbar to help." So Bruce Wayne goes and pries the wooden crate open with the crowbar. As Bruce Wayne lifts the lid of the crate, he is shocked to see what was inside. He screams, "Holy crap!" Alfred's like, "Oh dear my!" Both men were shocked and aghasted. Inside the crate was a dead body. Alfred's like, "My God, Master Bruce, who would send a dead body to you?" Bruce Wayne quickly realizes this was not meant for Bruce Wayne. This was meant for the Batman. Then Alfred asks Bruce Wayne, "Who would send Batman a dead body, Master Bruce?" Bruce says, "That's what I intend to find out." Suddenly, both men were startled with a voice that came from behind them. "Indeed, Detective, that's why I sent the body to you, to see if you could figure out what's going on." Both men turned around and Bruce was shocked. It was Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul and him already met a couple times several months ago, but this time Ra's al Ghul was sporting a bandage in his head. And Bruce asks, "So, Ra's al Ghul, what's going on? Why is this man dead, and why did he send the body to me?" Ra's al Ghul says, "Unfortunately, Detective, this is not a social call. I'm in most need of your skills. This is kind of a test. You need to figure this out, Detective, or else thousands, if not millions of people will die. Look at his face. Look at how twisted it is." Bruce Wayne looks at the face of the dead man in the crate, and indeed it was twisted beyond recognition. Then Ra's al Ghul goes on to explain, "This man was a former employee of mine." Then Bruce Wayne says to Ra's, "Well, Ra's al Ghul, you better start from the beginning. Tell me what happened." Ra's al Ghul says, "Fine, Detective, I'll tell you what happened. In my mountain retreat, where we work on special things, certain chemical compounds, certain bacteria and virological compounds," he said, "and we were working on a special bacterium designed to eat one of the hardest and rarest metals on Earth, molybdenum-5. Well, the results were promising, but unfortunately I discovered one of my lab technicians in the act of stealing it. His name was Striss. When I was confronting him about it, another lab technician and his friend Pollard attacked me, hitting me hard on the head. Well, the guards had found me unconscious along with my daughter. I wasn't alive, and I was taken away. My daughter, angry about what happened to me, went out to find Striss and Pollard, and I haven't heard from her since. As for me, my personal physicians were able to revive me with no problem. And now I come to you, Detective. I need your help to find Striss and Pollard. Unbeknownst to them, the bacterium, when exposed to the air for a few minutes, turns into a deadly plague carrier." Then Bruce Wayne says, "So you're saying that that bacterium that could eat metal turns into a plague carrier when exposed to the air?" Then Bruce Wayne begins figuring out, and then suddenly it clicked in his head. "Holy crap," he says. "That dead man is Pollard." Ra's al Ghul says, "Yes, Detective. My men found him dead in a back alley somewhere in this city. And he died because he was exposed to the bacterium. During the struggle, he smashed a vial of the bacterium, and it got on his clothes during the struggle, and it infected and killed him," said Ra's al Ghul. Then Bruce Wayne says, "Oh God, Alfred, get away from the body." Then Ra's al Ghul says, "No need to worry, detective. The body was thoroughly decontaminated before I shipped him here. I have certain methods that are yet unknown to modern doctors," said Ra's al Ghul. Then Bruce Wayne says, "Okay, Ra's al Ghul, I'll find your daughter. I'll find Striss. In the meantime, you stay here." And then Bruce Wayne turns to Alfred and says, "Alfred, entertain Ra's al Ghul while I go find out what's going on." Then Bruce Wayne goes to the secret elevator, goes down to the Bat Bunker, opens up the Bat costume vault, suits up, gets into the Batmobile, and drives off into the night. Batman knew one person that had a sizable collection of molybdenum 5. It was none other than the eccentric billionaire Solomon T. London. And Solomon T. London lived out in the Gotham Heights area where Bruce Wayne lived for a while before his home was burned down. So he drives out to the Gotham Heights area, parks a Batmobile a few miles away, and goes on foot. As soon as he arrives at the mansion of London, Batman notices a thick fog surrounding the mansion. Knowing that this is not a good sign, Batman activates his detective mode. Detective mode picked up that there was a guard behind the wall standing guard, making sure no one gets in or out, while detective mode also analyzed that the haze that was surrounding the outside of the mansion was knockout gas. So Batman quickly puts on his special gas mask that was behind his utility belt, and he decides to take out that guard. Batman sneaks around, and he quickly does a rolling somersault and kicks the guard right in the face. Then Batman drags the unconscious guard behind a few bushes. Batman notices that the guard had the gas mask on and a jacket, but the jacket had something very familiar on its lapel. It was a symbol of the Demon's Head. Batman figures to himself,
"This has to be Talia's men. She's here already. Maybe too late."
Suddenly, Batman hears footsteps coming towards his direction. He hides. It was two more of Talia's men coming up, also wearing gas masks. They also see their unconscious comrade on the ground, and one of them says, "Good God, what happened to him? Is this gas too powerful for these gas masks? Or did he not have it on correctly?" The other guard says, "Who knows? Let's take him inside and we'll radio this to Madame Talia." Suddenly, Batman sneaks on them and does a double takedown by smashing their heads together. Batman deactivates detective mode and goes inside the mansion. The door was wide open. He looks around when all of a sudden he gets hit over the head by a crowbar. Luckily, there was a metal protective piece in the cowl, and Batman quickly grabs the unknown assailant and does a judo throw, throwing the assailant onto the ground. Then Batman turns on the light to be shocked what it was. It was not one of Talia's men. It was a middle-aged woman, and she screams with a heavy French accent, "Sacred blood, Batman! Do not kill me! I thought you was one of those people." Batman then asked the woman,
"Who are you? And sorry, when someone tries to brain me to death with a crowbar, it's just a natural reaction."
Then the maid goes on to detail how a bunch of men with ski masks come in and kidnap London and take him away. When she was about to call the police, she said, then another group of masked men come in wearing gas masks, and then she says she saw them release some sort of gas outside. Then she says she runs and hides in a closet, and she did say to Batman that the second group of men that came were led by a young black woman. Batman quickly figured out that was Talia. And then the woman goes on to explain after she hid in the closet, and then he showed up. Then Batman asked the maid a question.
"Did you hear anything of importance, like where they were going or where was London taken to?"
The maid mentioned that she heard them say little stream. Batman thought to himself, great, there's so many little streams all around that could be anywhere. Then Batman realized, and he asked the maid,
"French is your native language, right?"
She says, "Oui, monsieur." Batman smiled. He knew what to do now, and he had to place a personal call. Soon the Batmobile was on its way to the Gotham Executive Airport. As the Batmobile drove up the tarmac to a private jet that was waiting, Alfred was there with a mask to hide his face as Batman steps out of the Batmobile and he says to Batman, "Yes, sir, we put the special package in there and Ra's al Ghul was special enough to provide us with the private jet. He's in there right now waiting for you, sir." Batman says,
Okay, just take the Batmobile back to the Bat Bunker, and I'll probably see you tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
Alfred shakes his head yes in acknowledgement, gets into the Batmobile and drives off. Batman boards the private jet where Ra's al Ghul was in there waiting, and Ra's al Ghul says, "Ah, detective, I see you figured out where my daughter and Stritz have head to." Batman sits down on the chair across from Ra's al Ghul as the door closes and the jet begins to take off. And Batman says,
I figured out where they were going. That was very simple. The maid heard them say little stream, but her native language is French. So I asked her, how did they say little stream? And she said they said bayou, which is French Creole for little stream. And there's one place in the United States that has little streams named the bayou.
Ra's al Ghul said, "Louisiana." Batman said.
Exactly.
Then Ra's al Ghul asked Batman, "Why the bayou?" And then Batman explained to him,
Because London has a fallout shelter in the bayou. He keeps his stores of molybdenum 5 in there, and that's where they are going. So I hacked in to his database in his company and found out the location of his fallout shelter. The jet's going to fly over it in a moment, and then I'll make my jump.
Then someone comes in and says, "Batman, we are over the drop site as you requested." Batman gets up and he says to Ra's al Ghul.
Excuse me, I have to go.
Then Batman gets up, walks over to the door, and opens the door of the jet as a strong wind began blowing into the fuselage. Batman kicks over the special package, and the special package falls and the parachute deploys. The package lands in the water and quickly inflates into a small raft. Then Batman is handed a rowing oar by Ra's al Ghul's attendant. Batman ties it to his utility belt and then leaps out of the jet into the night. Then he glides over to the inflated raft and lands perfectly on it. Then he unties the rowing oar and begins to row towards the direction of the fallout shelter. Batman activates detective mode and sees that there was an oil slick in the water. He knew he was on the right track. And then he keeps on rowing. But then detective mode picked up a sniper at the shoreline. The sniper spotted the rowboat and took a shot at it. Batman was forced to dive into the murky river as one of the bullets hits the raft and the raft begins deflating. Batman swims underwater and he was right underneath the sniper. Then Batman leaps out of the water doing an uppercut, knocking out the sniper. Soon Batman sees a lone shack on a hill. He figured that's where the fallout shelter is. A very clever disguise. Batman makes his way to the wooden shack. There was no other doors except for one, and it was sealed with a keypad. Batman gets down on one knee and breaks out his cryptographic sequencer and begins hacking the electronic lock. Now Batman steps in the elevator as the elevator goes all the way down. The door opens and Batman emerges and he sees Solomon T. London, Striss, and Striss was being held at gunpoint by a young black woman with an AK-47. It was Talia, and Talia was saying to Striss, "You bastard, you murdered my father. Those who murder my father will pay dearly, Striss." Then London says, "Oh God, don't shoot. I can't stand bloodshed." Then Talia says to London, "Shut up, Mr. London. This does not concern you. This is between me and Striss." Then Talia says to Striss, "Well, Striss, you made a good run, but it's now over." Then Batman screams.
Talia, don't do it. Your father's still alive.
Talia says, "Batman, how did you find me?" Then Batman says,
That's not important. What's important is that bacterium. It's...
Batman got hung up on his words when he saw the beaker open, and then he asked Striss.
How long has that beaker been open?
Striss says to Batman, "Several hours. I've been experimenting with it." Then Batman says,
Oh God, it's too late. It's had enough time to mutate into a plague carrier.
Then Talia asks Batman, "What are you talking about, Batman?" And then Batman says to her,
There's no time to explain. There's a deadly side effect with that bacterium. We gotta get out of here now.
While Batman was warning Talia, suddenly Striss went to grab a vase and fling it at Talia. Batman grabs Talia to get her out of the way of the incoming vase, but he made a stupid little mistake, and as he was pulling her away, he pulled her in front of him and the vase still hit her from behind. She dropped her gun. She was momentarily stunned, but she regained her composure. But Striss quickly utilized that moment of distraction to grab the AK-47 and points it at Talia and Batman. Batman quickly runs over to Striss and begins to wrestle the gun out of him. As they were struggling with each other, one trying to maintain the gun, the other one trying to wrestle the gun for him, the gun went off and hit the beaker full of the bacterium. Batman was able to wrestle the AK-47 from Striss and landed a haymaker on Striss. Striss fell back onto the table where the broken beaker was, and his hand fell hard onto the puddle of the bacterium, and some of the shards of broken glass also cut the skin of his hands, allowing some of that bacterium getting inside. Striss looks at his hands, and he sees his hand quickly developing gangrene-like growth, and then he felt pain shoot through his body. He was retching agony as he was screaming. This gangrenous growth began quickly spreading up his arms to his torso. Everybody looked in shock and horror. Batman turns to look at London and asks him,
London, is this chamber airtight?
London says, "Absolutely. It was made to withstand radiation." Then Batman says,
Thank God, maybe none of the stuff will escape.
So Batman grabs Talia and London. They run over to the elevator. Batman opens the elevator. The three of them go inside and ride the elevator up. As soon as the elevator stops, it opens to the swamp outside, and the three figures emerge into the cool dawn. And there they see Ra's al Ghul and his men, and Ra's al Ghul says, "Oh, detective, thank you very much." Talia's eyes lit up and she says, "Father!" And she runs over to Ra's al Ghul, gives him a tight hug and a big kiss on his cheek. Batman says to Talia,
Talia, don't do that. You and me and London here might be infected with that plague carrier.
Ra's al Ghul then says, "I foresaw the possibility, so I radio for my medically equipped helicopter. You will be well cared for." Then Talia says to Ra's, "Father, the Batman was wonderful." Then Talia goes over and kisses Batman on the lips, and Batman says to her,
Ordinarily, I enjoy a kiss from a beautiful woman, but after I've seen your bloodthirstiness...
Then Talia says to Batman, "You were shocked. Oh, you'll change your mind, dear Batman, I promise." Like and subscribe. The end.